Many people believe that we don't have control over our emotions.
If you are in a fantastic emotional state, you're going to respond differently.
When you change your own emotions, that's when the things in your life get better.
Sleep or food are major factors for how you feel emotionally.
That's when then the permanent change occurs.
When was the last time you just stopped and did something you love to do?
Hey there, this is Greg Denning. We want to reach as many people as possible and help as many families as possible with these conversations. And we want to keep this podcast ad-free forever. You can help us do that by subscribing on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen, your favorite platform, and on YouTube. And leave a quick review and share your favorite episodes with friends and family. It makes a big difference. Thank you for being a part of this very important movement.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Extraordinary Family Life Podcast. We're your hosts, Greg and Rachel Denning. Hey, we're going to talk about something that
All parents,
all humans deal with. Man, it is the human experience. It has such a significant impact on every aspect of our lives.
if we can change and improve our emotional state, that changes our life. Like that changes the way you experience life. That changes your parenting. That changes your marriage. Many people believe that we don't have control over our emotions, that they're just something that happened to us.
Right? Dictated by circumstances or other people,
Exactly.
whatever.
In parenting, we want our kids to behave because we think if our kids behave, we'll feel better and then we'll have a better experience as a parent. And so that's what we focus on and put all of our energy in. But a major part of this is that when we change our own emotions, and in fact, our own interpretations about our children fighting, that's what begins to change the circumstances.
Exactly. I was thinking the exact same thing where it's the reverse. If we want to really influence our circumstances, we start by changing our inner thermostat.
Right.
And what's happening inside. In fact, I did a full training on this yesterday about how the conversations we're having with ourselves in our head, the thoughts we're having, the beliefs we are operating on, and then the meaning that we attach to things. So you can have the best circumstances, and when you look back, you'll not remember the circumstances, you'll remember how you felt.
We tend to believe that our experience in family life on a day-to-day basis is, like I said, determined by the behaviors and actions of the people in our family. And that if we could control or improve those behaviors and actions, then we would have a better family life experience. We'd have a better parenting experience. But in reality, when we learn to switch that around and we instead begin by controlling our emotional experience, that is what will shift and transform the rest of our family life experience.
This is one of those things that somehow we have to get so deeply entrenched in our psyche and our understanding of life and family. Like this is the place. It's the starting place. And then you always go back to the start and always go back to the start. This is the foundation. It's the chassis on which everything is built. This is where an extraordinary family life is created and maintained.
Exactly. And of course, the biggest challenge with this reality is that it's not easy. It's difficult because it's much easier for us to respond emotionally to the circumstances in our life. So if our children are fighting, then, and I guess the better word actually is react, to react emotionally, we react. And we're going to get deeper into this. We react with the story that we've come to believe about what that fighting means.
And we react in accordance to where we are when the kids start fighting.
Emotionally, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So where I am emotionally will determine how I react to the stimulus. I promise if you are in a fantastic emotional state, you feel amazing, you're going to respond differently to the stimulus.
I believe from my own experience that if there are underlying issues that haven't been resolved, and this could be something from your own childhood, your own past experiences as a parent or whatever, even if you are in a good emotional state, if you have some sort of story or belief that's connected to the behavior and it acts as a trigger,
You go there immediately.
you can immediately revert back to that. It's essentially memorized emotion.
Well,
You've done it so many times that every time that happens, you just go back to that memorized emotion. And so even if you've worked hard to get in a positive emotional state, you can immediately go back to that memorized emotion until you process it and fully release it. That's when then the permanent change occurs.
So it means obviously there's lots of layers here.
Yes, there are.
There's layers from our past, the things, the emotions memorized, the emotional programming, the emotional stacking, where things just stack on top of each other. Like, oh, this has happened.
This happened, and it was annoying, and then that happened, and
it's related.
It's like
so you stack and stack. So
until you like explode or implode.
You know, the other layers are just how we feel physically.
Yeah.
I know for me, I had a couple of rough nights of sleep last week, and I was just paying attention how much more difficult it is to think positively and stay in a good positive state when you're physically exhausted. But unless you have a lot of self-awareness, you know what you're working on, that may not be,
you don't know,
obvious. So often it's sleep or food. We've talked about that so much, but sleep or food are major factors for how you feel emotionally.
Which obviously is very tough, because I remember the time when I didn't sleep a lot because I had babies, I had young children, I was pregnant. I mean, I went, 20 years without sleeping or something, probably not that long, but I went a long time without good quality sleep. And that's why it's even more important, I think, for young moms to be aware of that, of how much it is impacting them, and that they prioritize more the cliche self-care. But it's a real thing. Like, when you prioritize that, when you decide to take a nap when the baby takes a nap, like, it's not just for your benefit, it's for the baby's benefit, it's for the rest of the kids' benefit, so that you can be in a better state to be able to be more emotionally in control, emotionally empowered.
We've got to do things that make us feel good. This is true for men and women. You and I, we work with high achievers. We work with people who are go-getters, and they've got so much going on. And very often I have to stop and say, well, what are you doing that you actually just love to do? I no time for that. I'm busy. Go, go, go. Like, when was the last time you just stopped and did something you love to do? And it's been a long time. And for some, it's like, oh man, I love painting. I love drawing. I love paddleboarding or kayaking. Okay, go. Like, fit it into your weekly schedule at least, and do things that just fill your well.
Yes. Okay. So we actually got a question. Let's read the question. I know we've talked about it some already, but I want to get into some more specifics. So it says, what are some practical steps to change our emotional state? How do we change the energy that we radiate? You guys emphasize that it's a choice we can choose, but why does that feel so difficult and strange? I mean, how do you do it so that it is genuine and not a mask? One thing you mentioned is practicing being grateful. I guess another is starting to notice our thoughts and somehow changing them. And exercising will also help. So a fantastic question.
Can I start with the radiating piece? That's so insightful. Children practice and live by imitation without regulation. So if I'm edgy, my kids can be explosive.
It's incredible to me, still to this day, how much they can pick up on things like that, even way more than many adults do. But they're great at that. And so they're observing, they're watching, and their way of processing that, in a way, is acting it out in the world. But as you were saying, they do it without the ability to regulate, because, their prefrontal cortex is not fully developed. In fact, it's not fully developed until they're like 24. And so they imitate what they're seeing, but they magnify it.
And I would say they take their own little interpretation of it.
We have to focus on the feeling that we are feeling, because that is directly contributing to them fighting. If we are radiating irritation, annoyance, frustration, they're picking up on that, and then they're passing that on to their sibling, right? And that's what's contributing to the fighting. So that is one very important element of this.
And it's worth asking yourself and honestly evaluating, what is your predominant emotion? What is it you feel like you're feeling most of the time? That, I think, would be a really big indicator to family dynamics and family culture.
But the other very important piece of this is, just like she says in this question, why does it feel difficult and strange, and how do we do it so it's genuine and not a mask? Trying to stay calm is not the same as feeling peaceful.
Right.
Like
Exactly.
they're not the same thing. So even this idea of like, I'm trying to control my emotions, that's not what we're talking about.
In that sense, it's almost trying to mask them.
Right. That's closer to masking.
Right.
So if you're trying to stay calm or you're trying to be peaceful, that is the very opposite of what we're talking about. You can't try to do those things. You either feel peace or you don't. You either feel calm or you don't. But if you try to feel calm, you're essentially feeling some other emotion that you're covering up with a sense of calmness.
I think
that's not real.
So important, Rach. Because if I'm angry at something my kids are doing, it really bothers me. But I'm like, I'm going to be stoic and control.
I'm going to control this anger. We're emotionally authentic. If you and I feel angry or irritated or frustrated by our kids, we don't hide that. We don't go, because we feel angry, we don't go in yelling and screaming at our kids. But what we might do is go in and say, guys, I just feel so angry right now because when you do this, XYZ, and I feel like this. So we give an explanation, we explain and expound on it, but we also don't mask it or hide it. We let them know in an appropriate way that they can handle, because I don't want them to feel overwhelmed by my feelings, right? That's not the point either.
Nor responsible
for my feelings. But I'm also going to be authentic with them by sharing, this is how I feel when you do this, and this is why. Because when I do that, again, we're going back to the energy that we radiate. When we already have the energy, it's there. If I'm feeling irritated, annoyed, frustrated, the energy is there. So if I try to control it and try to be calm, I'm not doing that. I'm just masking it. Now, one of the ways I can process it, which is what ultimately we need to do, one, I can go in my room and I can process it on my own. I can go talk to my husband. I can process it with him. But part of the process may include sharing it with my kids. Like, I just feel so angry when you do this. I feel so frustrated or annoyed when you do that. Or I feel hurt and sad when you talk to your siblings like that. I'm being emotionally authentic with them so they understand, one, I'm a person that also has feelings. Two, their actions affect my feelings. And three, this is a process for processing those feelings so that we can move beyond them and get back to the authentic, real feelings we want to have, which is peace and calm, but not fake, actually real, because they're actually there.
Right. So I think there's two, maybe three really core elements to go with that. One is we have to be emotionally mature.
Too many adults are not emotionally mature because it was never modeled for them from their parents, and they're learning it as they go.
The second one is that if we're going to be emotionally authentic, it has to make sense. We're doing it based on principle. So we'll go in and say, hey, kiddos, like, it bothers me a lot when you treat each other like that because, and we'll explain, like, you treating other human beings like that, not cool at all. Like, people are people no matter how small. It's principle based. It's not arbitrary. We have these rule books. We all have these invisible rule books in our heads about certain things. And if the rules in there are ridiculous
or hypocritical or
arbitrary, like there's no real meaning or purpose, kids see right through that. It has to be built on like solid principles. Like, it actually has to matter. So if you're going to be upset about something, you better have a very, very good reason to be upset about it. You really thought through, like, there's some substance there. That's the one part. The other part is the maturity piece, because if you're emotionally mature and you're listening to this podcast, you think, oh, I'm going to tell my kids how I feel. Oh boy. All they're going to see is like an emotional dumpster fire and roller coaster and like all your emotional flatulence just going everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that fits with maybe the third piece where you said, hey, like, I'm going to go in and say, this thing happened and I'm feeling like this because of it. And once it's resolved and processed, like you said, then we go back to a good, healthy state. That doesn't always happen.
Mm-hmm.
If the predominant emotion isn't positive and happy and healthy and good, then what are our poor kids going off of? Where are they supposed to be most of the time? If you've chosen to operate in lower emotional states, negative states, and that's your predominant emotion, where's the baseline? Our poor kids are born into this world, and all they're doing is just taking the world they've
trying to model it, trying to mirror it.
Because that's all they know. They think, okay, this is what we do. I'm trying to take in all this information. So, and I can just picture right now these babies. So they're observing everything. And within a short time, they realize, okay, the way to survive in life is to do that emotional state,
Right.
whatever one they're born into. And that can be really unhealthy and really set them up on a weak foundation.
Well, just a kind of side tangent, I've been reading Power versus Force by Dr. David Hawkins, and he has a whole scale for energy levels. Part of this whole process of developing emotional maturity is developing emotional literacy. So when you can be able to label and identify and point out where you are, what emotion you have, that can also be very helpful in helping you understand where you are on the scale.
That's what I'm referring to, like the thermostat.
Yes, the thermostat.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's what it made me think of. So your family has this thermostat, this standard emotional consciousness, right?
It's huge.
It is. It's huge. And so when you can identify what that is most of the time, well, that's going to help you understand what's going on. I'm going to start at the bottom, going up. Shame, guilt, apathy, grief, fear, desire, which it's more like, craving, unhealthy desires, anger, pride. Then the first very positive emotion is courage, then neutrality, then willingness, acceptance, reason, love, joy, peace, enlightenment, right?
So Rachel, I love this idea. It's so amazing that every family has an emotional thermostat, a baseline, and it's set, and it was set unconsciously. It was just set kind of by default. This is rolling along, and you're doing your thing, and life's busy, and it set this thermostat, this temperature, emotional temperature. And so a child's born into it, or you're just operating, and having this awareness, just stopping and saying, okay, let's be honest. Where would we put ourselves on this scale? Where do you land? And that is going to be so powerful, because if you realize, you're like, you know what? Honestly, most of the time we're rolling at a 4, maybe a 5 on a Good Friday night. That's such an important baseline to realize our emotional thermostat is way too low.
Right.
And we need to crank this thing up so that we can be operating just at a normal, higher level.
Because the ideal, the goal, at least everything we teach and believe and practice ourselves in the whole Extraordinary Family Life podcast, is that we need to be on the positive side most of the time.
Well, yeah, you're right.
80% of the time, right? You and I?
95.
Well, I know, but you and I and our family experienced a lot of negative emotion last week. We experienced grief.
Lots.
Because of the death of a friend's baby. And that is an emotion we should experience.
100%.
Right? We're not going to be like, oh, we're just going to be in peace and joy that you lost your child.
Right. Last week's this big dip. It wasn't just this little dip, like, oh, you're kind of low baseline and a little dip. We're happy and energized most of the time, and this massive dip into grief, which is exactly what should happen when there's grief. We're not avoiding it. We're not moving away from it. And we're not already there of like, well, I'm already down here anyways.
Right. Exactly.
Which is where, that's where I was as a teenager and as a kid.
You're down in apathy or fear or desire.
Grief and anger and bitterness. Like, it changed is when I kind of figuratively drew a line in the sand and say, all those things happened and they're in the past. But from this point forward, my life will be what I make of it. That's when I started acquiring emotional maturity. Right.
The quote that I have on my phone, the reminder every day is nothing gets better until I do. When you realize that when you change yourself, when you change your own emotions, that's when the things in your life get better.
Yep.
Like that's that line in the sand. That's what changes everything. And so yeah, we're all already operating in one of these emotional levels all the time. But the goal, the purpose, the point is to increase that so that the thermostat, the average feeling we have is generally in the positive. That's the goal. That's how you get to the extraordinary family life you're after, is to increase that level.
Yep. And the way to teach this to your children is to show them.
Exactly.
We have to deliberately get into this high state. So if I ever wake up and I'm just groggy and I'm just not feeling it, just because I have this routine I've been doing for decades, I don't stay there for more than a few minutes.
Right.
Because I'm into my routine, whether I feel like it or not. I'm into my routine because I know my routine will make me feel fantastic.
Yeah.
It'll bring me up into that higher state.
So that's one of the very practical strategies, is that no matter how we wake up, and again, usually most mornings we wake up normal, your body actually uses cortisol to help you wake up. And cortisol is a stress hormone. So when you wake up, generally people don't feel great because your body's flooded with cortisol. But what we're saying is we have a very deliberate morning routine that we do that helps us take us from that cortisol state, and we take actions that deliberately increase other positive hormones.
Yeah, you're working with your body, your own physiology and biology, but you're getting into a mental and emotional state and a spiritual state as well.
Right.
And you can do this first thing in the morning. And here's the coolest thing. You can do it at any time throughout the day. You can pause and get back into a better state at any moment.
So if your kids are fighting and they're upset or whatever, and you're being triggered by that, you can stop and do these simple practices, and it will reset it will change your biochemistry. So some of the things I do is even simple things like light movements of your body. You just can move your arms around, and all that. That helps. Breathing, intentional breathing exercises is something I do.
Okay, that is the most simple one. Just stop.
Like breathing exercises really do make a difference. Yeah.
230 of those, and you start getting a little bit lightheaded and tingly, and you're like, wow. Or just jump around. And I can sense the resistance
because it's real
coming back, because you guys are like, oh no, it's so silly. It's so
stupid. I'm not going to do that.
Dumb. We operate in so much self-sabotage.
Because we're not willing to do the things that work.
Yeah, it's just like, stop. Do you like how you're feeling?
We literally can get addicted to negative emotions because our T cells, or whatever they are, they create the little
receptors
that are searching for the cortisol. Like they want the cortisol. They want those
stress and the drama.
And so
memorize it, or we get addicted to it.
We're addicted to it. So a lot of times, we do want to feel those negative emotions because our body's addicted to them, and that's what they're used to receiving, and that's what they want. And so it can feel very much like, no, I want to feel this. I want to feel anger. I want to feel shame. I want to feel guilt. I want to feel pride. We can get addicted to feeling that way.
And that answers her question of why does it feel so strange and so foreign when I'm trying to feel better, and it's like my body is resisting. That's why.
It is.
And so we have to learn these new patterns and show our kids how to do the same thing, model for them, and have them do the breathing with you. Have them jump up and down, run in place, do jumping jacks, turn on a song, sit down. Whenever you notice it's off, just stop. Read from a book that changes your mindset. Do a meditation.
This whole idea of fake it till you make it, there is a true principle behind that. Like if you want to be happier, we'll start acting more happier until it becomes normal, because you're stuck in this memorized emotion. You're stuck in this addiction to the negative emotion, and you have to retrain your body and change your biochemistry.
You don't feel like smiling. It feels insincere. You're like, I don't want to smile at all. But you smile anyways.
Yeah.
And you sit up straight. You fix your posture. Right. And you take some deep breaths and you kind of bounce around.
That's the point. Like it actually works. If you act like you're excited by doing the things you would do if you're excited, you trick your body into thinking that you're excited.
So it releases all these good feelings and chemicals in your body. And you're like, I feel way better already. And I have things I say to myself. So I'm addressing it's called endophagia. It's your self-talk. So I have things I say. I go back to core beliefs that I've instilled in me. I turn to certain authors or books that just always help me get back in a better mindset. I have spiritual practices. I have emotional practices. I have physical practice. I've been so deliberate about this. So in moments, I can just totally transform my state. I'm not going to sit around and play the victim.
Be grumpy for the rest of the day just because you feel grumpy. We have to be willing to do the things that actually work. Couple other things that work for me is simple meditations, like a gratitude meditation. Like this morning, I was thankful for you and how hard you work, and I'll be grateful for the sun. Like it's just simple things, right? And then it's 3 minutes of like a prayer or releasing or whatever, like, help me to level up, help me to be better, help me to improve myself, my life, so that I can continue to raise my own energy levels. And
you said something, I do something similar, but particularly when I have a problem. And I know people listening might be like, well, how do I try to feel good when I'm facing a problem? Instead of dwelling on the problem, start looking for inspiration
Yeah,
in solutions.
exactly.
How can I do something about this? What's one step I can take to make this better? What's one direction I can go? And so I start making my mind look for answers and solutions instead of focusing on the problem. Can't solve
the problem
from the same level in which you created.
Exactly. You have to raise your own energy levels in order to be able to solve the problem that was created by the energy level that created it, right? I've started doing something recently that's kind of similar, and I'm calling it future journaling. But it's this idea of where I'm writing about the solution to the problems I'm facing, but in a future tense as though it's already happened. So you could do this with your parenting, your marriage. If you're facing a problem with your children, well, journal about it as though it's in the future and it's already been resolved.
Start figuring this out. Within a few days of practicing these things, you realize, wow, that's actually really simple and amazing. If I'm paying attention and I don't like the level I'm feeling, I can do this, and this. You'll find the thing that works best for you.
Before we end here, as a parent, the things that we face and the things that are triggered in us by our children being children are clues to how we can actually become a better, more developed person. So that's one of the perspectives that I brought to parenting that I think made a huge difference, is that I never saw the problem as my child. My child was often revealing something about myself that I needed to change. And so if I got upset or angry or frustrated by something they said or did, well, I realized the problem wasn't them. I didn't need to get them to stop doing that thing in order to make the problem go away. I needed to resolve the issue within myself, and that would make the problem go away. And that would often then fix the behavior that my child was exhibiting. They're doing the things that trigger my emotions because my emotions need to be resolved.
Exactly.
What I had to do was the inner emotional work. I had to be like, why? Why do I feel this way? Why do I feel so upset? So that's my invitation here, is that we have to learn to pay attention to the things that we're feeling, but give it a new meaning.
I can correct and teach and coach and mentor, but if I make some changes, that problem goes away for good.
Mm-hmm.
I want to share an idea that came to my mind that I think is significant for us to think about. What if we look at our children and their whole childhood and look at their behaviors as a cry for help? Our kids are just temper tantrums.
Fighting, being rude, mean,
angry, selfish, explosive, these big emotions. What if we see all of those as a plea, as a cry for help, saying, hey, because really that's what it is. They're saying, I need help regulating this. I need help figuring this out. I'm going to go over and I'm going to help them through this. I'm going to coach them. I'm going to mentor them through this and give them tools that they can use moving forward. And those things, you address them one by one, and then pretty soon there's hardly any issues. The cries and pleas for help are so diminished. That's so powerful.
I firmly believe, and the research shows, that a baby under the age of 1 cannot be spoiled. Like, you can't hold it too much. You can't pick it up too much. You can't stop its crying. Every time it cries, you should meet that need. That's the foundational aspect of a healthy human psychology. If you do that for a baby, they're going to have a way better psychology as they grow up. So that right there solves a lot of problems. But of course, as they grow and become more independent, then we need to continually be backing away appropriately.
But not, and I love what you're saying, because we're not going in to solve their problems for them.
We're going in,
or we staying back saying, well, it's time for you to figure this out. They don't know how to figure it out.
Yeah.
You're mentoring. This is why Rachel and I are releasing a new parent mentoring course. That it's all mentoring.
Yeah.
We're mentoring and coaching them. And that's what good parenting is.
Right.
You're stepping in not to solve the problem for them, but not to let them just struggle and suffer on their own and not be able to figure it out. And they go, oh, they'll get it. No, they won't. They're too young. They don't have enough life experience. It's to jump in there and coach them, mentor them through this process, give them tools and options where they make the choices. They then, with some tools, figure it out.
Having all the tools is necessary. Like, you need to have the tools, because a lot of people fail at parenting simply because they don't have the tools. They don't know what they can use. But even with the tools, then you have to develop that wisdom and intuition and inspiration to know when and how to use the right tools.
I love it. Ladies and gentlemen, we can be like this positive emotional tide comes into the family and lifts all the family boats. And we can raise that thermostat. Even if it's just you, if you're the only one listening, and you're like, everyone else in the family is a mess. You can come in with such a positive, radiant force for good. It can't not have a good effect because you're just radiating out this good feeling. And at first it'll just be better moments, and then it'll be better days, and then better weeks, and then better years, because you just have this beautiful radiating warmth through the whole house, and you're doing whatever you need to stay at those higher emotional levels. It just has such an amazing effect of preventing so many problems and then helping you address the others. It's really powerful because it can't be emphasized enough how important this is. And so we just start practicing today, right now. I promise, within a moment,
You'll have the chance.
you'll be tested and you'll have a chance to reset. And it's awesome. So you can choose an emotion, and then whenever you get knocked off from that, you can just reset and just keep going back to it until you get better and better, stronger and stronger at staying in a good positive emotion. It's amazing.
But it happens by simply doing those very little things that actually can change how you feel, whether it's moving your body, breathing, dancing, going for a walk in nature. And I guarantee every one of you already knows some of those things. You're just resistant to using them. Or like, no, I don't want to do that. Do it. Just start doing it, because that's the beginning of making this change.
Okay. Love you guys. Thanks for listening. Reach upward.